The Galactic Elder Council chamber was older than most stars. It floated in silence above a dying white sun, protected by ancient shields that had not failed in millions of years. The walls of the chamber were carved with stories of war, victory, and extinction. Every mark told of a species that once believed it could not fall. The elders sat in a wide circle. They were not young. They were not weak. Some were made of stone and light. Some were machines older than planets. Some were living minds carried by fields of energy. They had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. Very few things surprised them anymore. A soft sound echoed through the chamber as a hologram appeared in the center. It slowly formed into a single word. Ha ha ha! Card Humanity. For a moment, there was silence. Then laughter. Low clicks. Sharp hisses. Cold machine tones. One elder leaned back in his seat and spoke with amusement. Why are we wasting council time on them? Another added, they cannot even agree among themselves. The hologram changed, showing simple data. Humans were described as divided, emotional, weak in space combat. New and inexperienced, their fleets were small compared to galactic powers. Their weapons were inefficient. Their colonies were scattered and poorly defended. Several elders nodded. One military lord said calmly, they survived only because no one cared enough to destroy them. More laughter followed. To the council, humans were noise, temporary, insignificant. Then something strange happened. A deep sound filled the chamber, not loud, but heavy. It was the sound of something very old moving. All eyes turned to the far end of the circle. The oldest elder had risen. No one knew his true age. Some believed he had watched the first empire's rise. Others believed he remembered when the galaxy was empty. His body was thin, almost fragile. His voice, however, carried weight. The chamber fell silent. He did not look at the hologram at first. He looked at the elders. And there was fear in his eyes. Remove that laughter from this room, he said quietly. No one laughed again. He finally spoke the rule. A single sentence. Never anger humanity. The silence that followed was uncomfortable. One elder broke it. You speak of them as if they are monsters. The old elder shook his head slowly. No, he said, I speak of them as survivors. He raised a clawed hand, and the hologram changed. Records appeared. Old records, so old that many had been sealed and forgotten. Worlds that no longer existed. Empires that vanished without final battles. Species erased from history. Every one of these, the elder said, pushed humans too far. The council watched in silence as data scrolled. These species believed humans were weak, he continued. They believed humans would break, but humans did something else. The images slowed. Humans retreated before striking. A record showed humans abandoning systems. They stayed silent before destroying. Logs showed no warnings, no speeches. They never warned twice. The elder's voice grew quieter. Those who laughed at them first are gone. One council member stood. You are connecting coincidence to fear, he said sharply. Many species fall for many reasons. The elder turned to him. Then explain why humans always vanished first, he asked. Why their borders went dark. Why their signals went quiet. No one answered. Another leader spoke, irritated. Even if this is true, they are still weak now. Yes, the elder agreed. That is when they are most dangerous. The chamber stirred. The elder lowered himself back into his seat. I have given you the only rule that matters, he said. Ignore it, and you will teach your children regret if they survive. The council exchanged looks. Then laughter returned, softer but confident. One leader said, fear makes even the old foolish. Another added, we are not provoking them, we are testing them. The decision was made quickly. No war, no invasion, just pressure. Human trade routes would be restricted. Human trade routes would be restricted. Accordon, border systems would be tested. Heck, accidents would be allowed to happen. It was called strategy. The old elder closed his eyes. The meeting ended. As the elders departed, no one noticed one final detail. The human symbol on the hologram did not fade. It stayed. Watching. Waiting. Far away, beyond the edge of known space, human ships continued their work. They did not respond. They did not complain. They recorded everything, and across human space, one quiet message spread through secure channels. Not a threat, not a warning, just preparation. The galaxy believed humans would submit. Humanity chose patience instead. The first attack was called an accident. A human trade convoy was traveling through a neutral corridor when an alien patrol moved too close. Weapons locked. Systems failed. Shots were fired by mistake. 3 human cargo ships were destroyed. Thousands died. The Galactic News Network reported it calmly. An unfortunate misunderstanding, the broadcast said. No hostile intent detected. Alien leaders watched and waited. They expected something loud. They expected angry messages. Emergency council meetings. Human fleets rushing to borders. Nothing came. Human space stayed quiet. A week later, another incident occurred. A human colony station near the border lost power. An unknown explosion tore through its core. Evacuation ships never made it out. Millions were dead. Again, the galaxy waited. Again, nothing. Some alien leaders laughed openly. They are afraid, one warlord said. They know their place. Others felt uneasy, because humans were not reacting like weak species usually did. Weak species begged. Weak species protested. Weak species rushed into desperate wars. Humans did none of that. Instead, something subtle began to change. Human merchant traffic slowed. Civilian ships rerouted away from main lanes. Old outposts were abandoned quietly. Colonies near borders went dark, no lights, no signals. To the galaxy, it looked like retreat. Inside human space, it was something else. Emergency councils met behind closed doors. Not to argue, to agree. Ancient plans were unlocked. Plans created long before the current generation was born. Human leaders spoke little. One sentence passed through secure channels again and again. Begin Phase 1. Across dozens of systems, civilian populations were moved, not in panic, in silence. No broadcasts, no warnings, no drama. Children were placed on transport ships. Factories shut down overnight. Data vaults were sealed. The galaxy saw only empty space where humans once lived. Alien commanders misread this completely. They are running, one admiral said during a fleet briefing. Press harder. Human trade routes were officially restricted. Food shipments were delayed. Medical supplies were seized. Civilian ships were searched aggressively. Human losses grew. Still no response. No protest at the council. No threats. No speeches. Only silence. That silence began to disturb the elders. The oldest elder returned to the chamber alone. He stood before the empty hologram and whispered, "They are preparing." But no one was listening anymore. Meanwhile, alien border fleets noticed something strange. Human ships no longer traveled in groups. They traveled alone, slowly, carefully, and every ship transmitted its full data openly. Position, cargo, destination. It made no sense. One commander said, "They want pity." Another said, "They want pity." Another said, "They want mercy." Both were wrong. In human space, engineers worked without rest. Massive structures deep inside stars activated for the first time in centuries. Old satellites repositioned themselves quietly. Systems that were never used during wars slowly came online. None of them looked like weapons. That was the most dangerous part. A third incident occurred. This time it was not an accident. A human civilian transport was destroyed deliberately. Its escape pods were targeted next. The galaxy watched. Human reaction finally came. One message. Not to the council. Not to the attackers. To human space only. It said, Phase 1 complete. Alien intelligence agents noticed something else at the same time. Human military traffic disappeared. Not destroyed. Gone. No fleets at borders. No patrols. No defense lines. It looked like total collapse. Celebrations began in some empires. They have surrendered without words, one ruler declared. The oldest elder felt cold. He requested emergency council assembly. It was denied. The galaxy was confident, too confident. Then the first alien fleet went missing. No explosion, no distress call, no debris, just gone. Command blames navigation errors. Then a second fleet vanished. Then a third, all near former human trade routes. Panic began to whisper. Sensors showed nothing. Space itself appeared normal, but ships entering those regions never came back. Human space remained silent. No claims, no threats. No responsibility. The galaxy tried to map the affected zones. The maps changed every time. Paths folded. Distances stretched. Stars appeared slightly out of place. Physics still worked, but not the way it used to. The oldest elder finally spoke publicly. "They have stopped defending," he said. That means they are done retreating. Few listened. Because fear had not fully arrived yet, the galaxy still believed humans would break. They believed silence meant weakness. They did not understand one simple truth. Humans had learned long ago, when talking fails, preparation matters more. And when humans go silent, they are no longer asking for peace. They are making sure there will be no second mistake. Far inside human territory, deep beneath layers of protected space, a final message was prepared. It was not sent yet, because humanity was patient. And patience, once exhausted, never returns. The first sign was not an explosion, it was a delay. An Imperial supply fleet was scheduled to arrive at a forward base near former human space. The route was safe. It had been used for decades. No threats were expected. The fleet never arrived. At first, command assumed a technical issue. They waited 1 hour, then 2, then 6. No distress signal came. No wreckage appeared on sensors. The ships were not destroyed. They were simply gone. Navigation officers checked the charts again. The route still existed. The stars were still there. Nothing looked different. A second fleet was sent. It followed the same path. It vanished at the exact same point. Panic began to spread quietly through command rooms. Admirals spoke in lower voices. Technicians rechecked instruments again and again. Scientists argued over data that made no sense. Space itself looked calm. Too calm. The problem spread fast. Trade routes near former human territory started failing. Ships entered certain regions and never exited. Even unmanned probes disappeared without sending back data. No explosions, no energy spikes, no weapon signatures, just absence. The Galactic News Network tried to control the story. They used words like navigation anomaly, sensor distortion, temporary instability. But civilians noticed something else. Maps were changing. Star positions shifted slightly depending on who viewed them. Distances between systems no longer matched calculations. Old routes led to empty space. Fear started to grow. The Galactic Elder Council was finally forced to meet again. The chamber felt different this time. The laughter was gone. Many seats were empty. Some elders were missing, trapped in regions that no longer connected to known space. The oldest elder arrived last. He looked tired, very tired. "You have crossed the point of return," he said without greeting. A military leader slammed a claw against the floor. "This is an attack," he said. "We must strike back." "Strike what?" the elder asked calmly. "And where?" No one answered. Sensors showed no enemy fleets, no human warships, no weapons platforms. Human space was still silent. Embassies remained closed, signals unanswered. No declarations sent. It was as if humanity had stepped outside the galaxy and locked the door behind them. Then came the report that changed everything. A long-range observation station detected something near a dead star. At first, it looked like nothing. Then the data refined. Space around the star was folded, not broken, not destroyed, folded. Like paper bent without tearing. A science elder whispered, "That is not a weapon." The oldest elder nodded. "That is infrastructure." The room went cold. Infrastructure meant planning. It meant patience. It meant time. Humans had not reacted quickly because they did not need to. They had been preparing this long before the first attack. The Council demanded contact with Earth again. A powerful signal was sent. Then another. Then hundreds, boosted through every known relay. At last, a response came. Not a voice, not a threat, just text. One sentence. "This channel is no longer active." That was all. Some elders panicked. Others grew angry. How dare they ignore us? One ruler shouted. The oldest elder stood again. "They are not ignoring you," he said softly. "They are finished asking." More reports flooded in. Military worlds were losing access to their own systems. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably. Fleets attempting emergency jumps ended up light years off course. Worse still, the changes were selective. Civilian ships could pass through safely. Military vessels could not. Weapon systems failed to initialize. Targeting systems refused to lock. It was as if space itself recognized intent. One terrified commander asked, "How do we fight this?" The oldest elder answered honestly, "You do not." The galaxy finally understood. Humans were not fighting a war, they were rewriting the environment. They were removing the ability to attack them at all, and they were doing it quietly. Across the galaxy, war species felt something new. Helplessness. They could not strike back. They could not even reach human space. Their fleets were trapped in shrinking zones of stable navigation. The strongest empires were suddenly the most vulnerable because they relied on force, and force no longer worked. Inside human space, life continued. Children studied. Engineers worked. Families lived quietly on worlds hidden deep within folded regions. Humans did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They treated this as necessity. A human commander spoke to her staff. "We warned them once," she said calmly. "That was enough." Another officer asked, "What if they surrender?" She shook her head. "This isn't punishment," she said. "It's containment." The final realization spread through the galaxy like a slow poison. Humans had not attacked to win. They had attacked to end conflict forever. And now, the galaxy stood on the edge of a future it did not choose. The oldest elder closed the council session with one final sentence. They thought humanity was weak because humans waited. He looked around the chamber. Now they will learn what humans do when waiting ends. Far away, deep inside silent human space, a final system warmed to life. Not a weapon, a lock, and once closed, it would never open again. The galaxy waited for fire. It waited for fleets, for explosions, for loud, violent revenge. That was how wars were fought. That was how wars had always been fought. But nothing like that came. Instead, systems began to fail in ways no one understood. On a major military world of the Karuan Empire, gravity shifted without warning. It did not collapse. It did not reverse. It simply became unreliable. Buildings leaned at strange angles. Heavy weapons could not be stabilized. Ships could not lift safely from the surface. Engineers worked day and night. They found nothing broken. The planet itself was fine. Space around it was not. On another world, an empire's main fleet lost access to energy. Reactors were intact. Fuel was full, but power refused to flow as it should. Weapons stayed cold. Shields flickered and failed. Command ships went dark one by one. Panic spread. No enemy had appeared. No battle had been declared. The Galactic Elder Council received thousands of emergency messages. "We are under attack. We cannot move our fleets. Our systems do not obey us." The oldest elder listened to all of it in silence. Then he spoke. "This is not war," he said. "This is removal." The council did not understand. Removal of what? One leader demanded. The elder answered slowly. "Removal of your ability to threaten." Reports continued to arrive. Entire armadas were trapped between folded regions of space. Ships could see their destination but could never reach it. Every jump ended in the same empty zone. Some fleets tried to fire their weapons in frustration. The weapons did nothing. Targeting systems refused to lock. Missiles drifted harmlessly, then shut down. It was as if the universe itself had decided something. Military force was no longer allowed. Finally, humanity appeared. Not in ships, not in fleets. A single broadcast spread across every major network. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. A human stood on screen. No armor. No symbols of power. Just calm eyes and a steady voice. "This message is sent once," the human said. "We did not come to punish you." Many leaders laughed in disbelief. The human continued. "We came to prevent repetition." The screen changed. Data appeared. Not classified. Not hidden. Open and clear. The galaxy saw what humans had done. They had built systems inside stars. They had shaped space without breaking it. They had learned how to guide natural laws instead of fighting them. They had not destroyed fleets. They had removed the paths those fleets needed. They had not killed soldiers. They had made soldiering useless. "This is not revenge," the human said. "This is a boundary." Someone shouted from the council chamber. "You are destroying the balance." The human looked directly into the camera. "No," they replied. "We are ending it." The broadcast ended. Silence followed, then fear. Because for the first time, the galaxy understood. Human war was not fast. Human war was final. Empires began to collapse without battles. Military leaders were removed by their own people, blamed for provoking humanity. War industries shut down overnight because there was no demand. What was the point of weapons that could never be used? Refugees began moving, not from destroyed worlds, from stable ones. Worlds that depended on conquest could no longer feed themselves. Their systems were built for war, not survival. Human space opened narrow corridors, not wide, not welcoming, just enough. Human messages followed the refugees. You may pass, you may settle, you may not bring weapons. Many expected traps, there were none. Human patrols escorted refugees safely. Medical aid was provided. Food was distributed without speeches. Humans did not demand loyalty. They demanded only one thing: do not threaten again. The oldest elder watched all of this unfold. He felt no pride, only relief. He addressed the council one final time. "This is why I warned you," he said. "They do not conquer. They conclude." A younger elder asked quietly, "Can this be undone?" The old one closed his eyes. "No," he said. "That is the point. Across the galaxy, history changed direction. Species that once ruled through fear now had to learn cooperation. Old rivalries lost meaning without war. Some cultures faded, others adapted. Humanity did not rule the galaxy. They did not need to. They had changed the rules so completely that ruling was unnecessary. In human space, the systems continued to hum quietly. Locks held, paths remained closed, and humanity watched, not with anger, not with pag, but with the calm understanding that this was the cost of survival. The galaxy had wanted to test them. Now the galaxy lived inside the result, and for the first time in millions of years, there was no sound of war, only the quiet weight of a lesson learned too late. The galaxy did not fall in one moment. It cracked slowly. At first, leaders believed the damage could be managed. They thought trade would adjust. They thought new routes would open. They thought the strange changes in space were temporary. They were wrong. Military empires were the first to suffer. Their worlds had been built for conquest, not balance. Food came from conquered systems. Energy came from controlled regions. Labor came from fear. Now, none of that worked. Fleets could not move. Weapons could not activate. Threats meant nothing. On one former war world, soldiers stood in long lines outside empty supply depots. Their uniforms were clean. Their weapons were polished, but useless. Commanders shouted orders that no longer mattered. A young soldier asked a simple question: "What are we protecting now?" No one answered. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Factories shut down because there were no materials. Shipyards rusted in silence. Entire industries collapsed without a single human attack. The people began to turn on their leaders. "You provoked them," crowds shouted. "You ignored the warning." Some rulers fled. Some were removed peacefully. The strongest empires fell the fastest, because they had nothing left once power was gone. Refugee waves grew larger, not just civilians now, scientists, engineers, former admirals. They arrived at the narrow corridors near human space, sending requests with shaking voices. "We want to live." Human responses were always the same: calm, short, clear. "You may enter. You will be scanned. You will leave your weapons behind." Many expected humiliation. There was none. Humans treated them like people, not enemies. Food was given, medical help provided. Children were cared for first. This confused many refugees more than cruelty would have. One former war leader watched human doctors treat his injured child. He whispered, "Why help us?" The doctor answered simply, "Because we know what loss feels like." The truth spread. Humans had lost worlds too. Humans had lost millions. Humans remembered every name. They did not forget. They chose something else. On neutral worlds, new councils formed. Species that once hated each other sat together, not as allies, but as survivors. They shared resources. They shared knowledge. For the first time, cooperation was not a choice. It was required. The Galactic Elder Council met again. Only half the seats were filled. The chamber felt empty, smaller. The oldest elder spoke, his voice tired but steady. "You wanted dominance," he said. "They wanted an end." One elder asked quietly, "Are we safe?" The old one paused. "Safe," he repeated. "Yes." "Free?" the elder asked. He shook his head. "No. You are accountable." That word echoed through the chamber. Accountable. That word echoed through the chamber. Accountable. Something the galaxy had never been before. Across human space, memorial lights were lit. Not broadcasts. Not ceremonies. Just quiet lights on distant worlds. Names scrolled slowly across private screens. Names of the dead. children asked their parents why the lights were there. Parents answered honestly, "So we remember why we chose this path." In former enemy territory, schools began teaching a new lesson. Not about weapons, not about conquest, about restraint, about patience, about the danger of mistaking silence for fear. Old stories changed. The heroes were no longer the strongest warriors. They were the ones who stopped wars before they began. The galaxy adjusted. Slowly, painfully. Some species failed to adapt and faded away. Others grew stronger in unexpected ways. Trade returned, smaller but fairer. Borders remained, but they mattered less. And always, there was one rule everyone followed: never provoke humanity. Not because humans ruled, but because humans remembered. The oldest elder visited a quiet observation deck overlooking a folded region of space. He watched stars bend gently around invisible boundaries. A younger elder joined him. "Did we lose?" the younger one asked. The old elder considered the question. "No," he said, "we survived." "That is not the same," the younger replied. The elder smiled sadly. "No," he agreed, "but it is better." Far away, deep within protected human systems, the great locks remained closed, not as punishment, as protection. Humanity watched the galaxy heal, fracture, and reshape itself. They did not interfere unless needed. They did not lead unless asked. They had learned something long ago. Force changes borders, but restraint changes history, and the galaxy, forever changed, now lived inside a future shaped by a species that chose patience until patience was no longer possible. Years passed, not quickly, not easily, but they passed. The galaxy no longer measured time by wars. There were no great battles to mark eras, no explosions to signal change. Instead, history moved slowly, shaped by choices instead of force. The old galactic maps were useless now. Trade routes had shifted, borders had softened. Some regions were permanently closed, folded gently away from normal space. Everyone knew who had done it. No one blamed humanity anymore. On many worlds, children grew up without seeing a warship. They studied history and found something strange. The most powerful species in the galaxy did not rule. They watched. Humanity did not sit on a throne. They did not demand tribute. They did not enforce laws with fleets. Yet every major decision in the galaxy considered one thing first: what will humanity think? A new galactic charter was written. It was shorter than any before it. It contained many laws, but one stood above all others. Never provoke humanity. Not written in fear, written in understanding. The Galactic Elder Council still existed, but it had changed. The chamber was no longer filled with conquerors. It was filled with caretakers, planners, and listeners. The oldest elder remained. He was weaker now, his light dimmer, but his eyes were calm. During one quiet council session, a young representative asked a question no one had dared to ask before. Why didn't the humans finish us? The chamber went silent. The old elder smiled gently, because they didn't want to become what they stopped. The council reflected on that answer. They remembered the past, how humans had been mocked, ignored, tested, how their patience had been mistaken for weakness. On a distant human world, a classroom full of children listened to a teacher speak. "We are not heroes," the teacher said. "We are survivors." A child raised a hand. "Why didn't we destroy them when we could?" The teacher paused. "Because destruction is easy," she said. "Living with restraint is harder." Across human space, the great locks still held. They were maintained quietly, carefully, not as threats, as promises. Promises that humanity would never allow the galaxy to return to what it was. Refugee worlds had grown into peaceful systems. Species that once relied on war now relied on cooperation. Some cultures faded, unable to adapt. Others evolved. The galaxy became smaller but safer. One day, a small alien delegation requested entry into human space. They were scholars, historians. They wished to understand. Humans allowed them in. They were shown no weapons, no secret fleets. They were shown archives, records of human losses, images of destroyed colonies, messages never sent. The scholars were silent for a long time. One of them finally asked, "Do you hate us?" The human guide shook her head. "No," she said, "but we remember." That was the difference. Hatred burns fast. Memory lasts. The oldest elder felt his time nearing its end. He requested one final message to be recorded and shared across the galaxy. It was simple. "I warned you once," the message said. "They warned you with silence." His light faded soon after. The galaxy mourned him, because he had been right. Long after his passing, new species rose. Young civilizations looked to the stars with curiosity and fear. They learned the stories early, not stories of conquest, stories of patience, of a species that endured insult, loss, and pain, and chose restraint until restraint was no longer possible. Humanity remained, still emotional, still divided, still imperfect, but now understood. They had changed the galaxy forever, not by ruling it, but by teaching it a single unforgettable lesson. That patience has limits, and silence can be louder than war. The galaxy did not kneel before humanity. It stepped aside, and in that quiet space, a fragile peace was finally allowed to exist. Not guaranteed, but protected. By a species that never wanted power, only survival.